They used to be people, the eggheads. I've seen it in a lot of the weeks since the buffet. Not everybody shows the signs, but some people, the ones who get hooked the hardest on that sick foreign meat slop, only seem to gain weight from the neck up. Hair falls out. The first thing to disappear are the eyes. Then the mouth seals shut, and the whole head smooths over. They start to wander aimlessly, invisible to everyone else, forgotten by friends and loved ones. They do nothing but mumble, groping their arms around like they're hunting for their lost eyes. I killed one today. I'd spent my afternoon scrounging around town for normal things to eat, an increasingly challenging task. Avoiding the overtly weird shit is the only half of it. I have to be careful for anything that boasts a new formula or improved flavor. Sometimes I just have to scan the package for the hamburger logo, or check the ingredients for some new gibberish like extracted bone jellies or natural life parts. Some of the untainted stuff is skipping the shelves and going straight into dumpsters, which I'd been digging through when the egghead got the jump on me, cornering me in a one-way alley between a Safeway and a Walgreens. I'm so sorry. Its head was bigger than most, an impossibly bloated globe. It was almost brushed against the walls on both sides. I don't know how its feeble, chalky body could have held it up. It was barely more than a skeleton. Thin skin shrink-wrapped tightly to its bones. All that remained of its former identity was a black dress tie, swaying like a pendulum from its pencil-thin neck. Its incoherent mumbling sounded at once panicked, apologetic, and threatening as it staggered towards me. Limbs outstretched, I had nothing to defend myself with but a bag of stale bread and a warm can of Coke. I screamed at it. I told it I didn't know what it wanted, that there wasn't anything I could do, but it just kept coming, mumbling. The moment my back hit the wall behind me, I snapped. I grabbed the nearest garbage can lid and swung it with all my strength, slamming it straight into that fat, bulbous face like a battle axe. It felt like striking a huge, taut basketball. The mumbling grew more frantic, more confused as the thing stumbled backward, gravity tugging at its awkward cranium, arms whirling cartoonishly as it fought to regain its center of balance. It was like some bent slapstick routine, like somebody struggling not to drop a wedding cake. I charged, screaming like a banshee as I struck again, and the thing finally toppled, slowly, like it was filled with air. As it hit the ground, that massive noggin exploded like a swollen tick. With a wet splash, pinkish gore and hunks of rubbery white flesh gushed out into the valley and into the street. For one terrifying moment, I wondered how the scene would look to the rest of the world. If they'd just seen some random, senseless act of murder against a completely normal, innocent human being. The people already nonchalantly stepping up the scattered piles of gore would have eased my mind, if it weren't for what happened next. One of those piles started moving. Something about the size of a baby was squirming out from the pulverized sludge, a fat, slightly oblong shape with a lot of thin, wriggling appendages underneath. still too thick with gore for me to make out any details. It was still between me and freedom, and I could only watch in a confused stupor as it unfurled a pair of big, transparent fins and abruptly took flight, buzzing off into the afternoon sky like a bloated, fleshy bumblebee. It thankfully never seemed to notice or care about me. Funny how I settled on eggheads. I just thought they looked like eggs. I didn't know they literally were. A woman stopped dead in the crosswalk to smile and wave at the thing as it disappeared into the skyline, then continued on her way with only a momentary look of puzzlement that, what am I doing look, followed by the, well, whatever, one I've grown so accustomed to over the past several weeks. When I got home, I started reading up on diseases, parasites, bugs, puzzle pieces dropping into place. There's a kind of wasp that lays its eggs in a live caterpillar. When the larvae hatch, they modify the host's entire metabolism to suit their needs. The caterpillar eats more, grows bigger, all to provide the developing wasps with more sustenance. This kind of shit is everywhere in nature. There are microbes that make mice suicidally attracted to cats. There are flies that grow inside of the heads of ants that keep on moving even after their brains are eaten. It all makes so much sense. Maybe they're from space. Maybe they're from hell. Maybe they've always been here, toppling one species, one civilization after another. Who knows? They feed us so we can feed them. So they have a nice warm body to keep them safe and nourished until they don't need us anymore. We're just a herd of cattle, oblivious to our position in life as we fattened up, slaughtered by something that looms just above our understanding of the natural order. I don't know why I can see them, why I can see what they're feeding us. I'm like a cow who grasps exactly what goes on in the slaughterhouse. And I can't stop thinking about what a cow would ever hope to accomplish with that knowledge. Your guess is as good as mine. Entry 4. Today, I followed one of the flying things. They eventually break out of the eggheads on their own, often taking 30 minutes or so to wipe the gore off their slimy bodies with their squishy legs before they take to the air. They've never shown any aggression or any acknowledgement that I exist. They just flutter away like they've got somewhere to be. And apparently they do. It was in a Walmart parking lot that I witnessed another hatchling. The egghead was stumbling between cars, clawing at its own face, reaching feebly out to passerbys like it still thought it could be saved. It hadn't even hit the ground before its featureless face started to crack audibly. Pink goop dribbling out like raw yolk. It collapsed against a minivan and slumped limply to the pavement as a big hump of its scalp popped off with a wet, solid crunch. The thing inside was throbbing, swelling up like a pufferfish to push open what was once a human skull. It throbbed and squirmed its way out of the ruptured cranium, looking like nothing so much as a wet, rubbery horsefly made of chewed gum, or an inverted brain with membranous wings. Its branching limbs writhed like night crawlers, barely supporting its bloated, rugose body. The wings trembled, almost cautiously at first, before it took its first blind leap into the air and smacked wetly into the ground. It was a dud. It took another shot at flying, awkwardly bobbing for a few feet before it dropped like a rock with another pitiful wet smack. I laughed pretty hard. When invisible monsters are devouring the human race and nobody cares, You tend to take whatever entertainment you can get. It took off again in the same direction, landing itself on the hood of a Jeep. The little guy was determined. That was when it dawned on me. The opportunity I'd stumbled upon. They'd always disappear into the sky before I could even get a sense of their direction, but I could easily tail this one on foot. I figured, worst case scenario, I'd see nothing new and have to take a bus back into town. As luck would have it, its destination wasn't far. I came close to giving up, waiting for the damn thing to collect itself every 10 to 15 feet, watching it plummet like a bent paper airplane and flounder like a dying fish for minutes at a time. But not an hour had passed before I learned its little secret. Half a mile from the crumpled remains of an egghead. A porta-john. Between the magic doors, garish advertisements, mutant snack food, and odd shit I can't even begin to get into, I'd never stopped to think about the bright blue portable toilets that seemed unusually common as of late. I never needed one, and with the seemingly perpetual roadwork guzzling our tax dollars for as long as I've lived here, it's not as if they were all that strange a sight. The grimy plastic door quietly swung open as the brain bug flopped closer. I feigned disinterest, doing my best to pass as obliviously as everyone else, but snuck a quick glance into the open honey pot. The brainfly, as I decided to dub them, was already careening down a long, dark tunnel, stretching as far as the eye could see, all somehow contained in a single small portable shithouse. Nothing unusual these days. As I made my way back to my car and drove the rest of the way home, only one thought persisted. I had to know. Reality was unraveling around me. Former neighbors were fighting in the streets for rancid mouthfuls of fish guts. Giant hamburgers were lighting up the night sky on neon signs that dwarfed entire buildings. Things were eating people from the inside out, and all I wanted was an answer. Even a hint. Any lead I could find. I didn't suspect there was anything I could do, and any day now I could wake up another deluded zombie, another gluttonous slave to their deep-fried maggots and pickled eyeballs. They could grind me up and serve me at the buffets for all I cared. I just had to know where that damn tunnel went, where that brain-eating bastard was really going. I laid awake that night, my mind racing with images of alien motherships, parallel realities, and subterranean cities. Tomorrow, I'm going in. Either I die knowing one more piece of the puzzle, or I somehow kick their gooey little asses. Who's to say they'll even be prepared for an intruder? If they think they've got us all fooled. I don't expect to be some kind of hero, but so far, I'm the only one who even has a shot at trying.